You can just identify yourself for me?
Tim Russo.
Tell me a little bit about your recent campaign.
We lost, but we came in fourth out of 9 in a Democratic primary. It was a safe Democratic seat, so it drew out a lot of candidates because once a Democrat won their primary, they would be elected. There's no way a Republican was going to win the seat, so it drew out a lot of Democrats. We got 730 votes. We came 12 votes behind third, so I'm pretty proud of that. And the seat, demographically, is an African-American seat. So it was very likely that an African-American was going to win it unless a lot of candidates came in and split the African-American vote, which is the gamble that someone like me would take. Gamble didn't pay off. The black vote didn't split enough. So there were two vote getters at the top who were African American. The winner won with 2,100 votes. Second place was about 1,500 votes. Third place was the top white vote getter who got 742 votes, and I got 730 votes.
Okay.
So I came 12 votes from being the top white vote getter out of 9 candidates. So it was pretty close. I mean, I feel pretty proud of the result.
And what was the office that you were running for?
It was Cuyahoga County Council, District 7. It was a brand new legislative body created by a voter referendum, 11-seat legislature. This was the inner city seat.
Okay. And so a lot of people run for office, obviously. What made your campaign particularly different?
Well, obviously, I have a conviction of a certain kind that made it entertaining, to say the least. This particular race was more about transparency because of a recent county corruption scandal. So I ran on transparency, and having the conviction actually was a plus because it showed that I was going to be as transparent as anybody in the race about who I was, what I had done in the past, what I wanted to do for the future. It actually fed well into my message, fed well into the electorate. In addition, the electorate, being largely African American and largely inner city, is a very large ex-offender population. About 7,000 ex-offenders come back to Cuyahoga County every year, and the vast majority of those actually settle in that council district. So there's a lot of felons in the district. And in Ohio, felons can vote. So we ran, not in addition to on the transparency platform, we ran on a Ban the Box platform. Ban the Box is a short term for ending the practice of discriminating against people in employment or public service on the basis of criminal record. Ban the Box means get the box off of the employment application. Employers are not allowed to ask the question, they're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of criminal record related to the job, or unrelated to the job. So I ran on Ban the Box in the African American community especially. We did a lot of radio, we did a lot of robocalls, we did a lot of lit drops on Ban the Box, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that during my presentation here today. But that was another thing about this race that was very different. I mean, you could actually run on those issues in this district. I'll tell you a little story. I knocked on a lot of doors, especially in the African American community, and one day I was walking down the street, and it was clear I'm a politician looking for votes. I had my campaign T-shirt on, and I'm looking around, and one of the guys in the yard was yelling out. He's like, "You're running for office?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need your vote." He's like, I can't vote. I'm a felon." So I said back to him, "Well, I'm a felon too," as loud as I could, so that the whole street could hear. And that stopped him in his tracks. So now we're having a little discussion. And it's clear that most of these felons in Ohio don't understand that they can actually vote. They don't. They're in 2008, when the Obama campaign did a lot of work on this issue, they tried to encourage felons to register, educate them on how to vote, where to vote. But it doesn't seem to sink in, especially when so many people continually go back to prison and come out of prison so rapidly. you're not reaching everyone. So all these people come out of prison. They don't realize that they can vote after they're out of incarceration in the state of Ohio. There are some states, like in Florida, where felons can't vote. But in Ohio, it's difficult. It's a job to educate these people, to educate felons that they can vote and they can access the democratic process. So, I mean, that was one educational thing for me, was to see just how much work there is to do to educate felons and let them know that, yeah, you can vote.
What do you think the future is for felons in public office?
There's going to be more. I mean, it's like people who smoked marijuana or snorted cocaine back in the 80s, you know. Everyone did it. Eventually somebody's going to get elected who is a weed smoker. Okay, that's going to happen. Similarly, eventually someone's going to get elected who has felony conviction, because there's so many of them. I mean, there's actually been people elected who have felony convictions. I mean, one of the councilmen, city councilmen in the county council district that I was running to represent, Jeff Johnson, had done time for public corruption. He was in jail for public corruption for a good couple of years, and he came out and he's back to being a councilman. He's a city councilman now. Why? Because that district that he represents is filled with people who have gone through the criminal justice system, and you understand that once you're through, you should be through. And he represents them now in the city. So I think it's inevitable that there will be more.
What kind of perspective do you believe that your history provides for you in terms of serving in public office that it may be not common amongst other candidates?
The most obvious one is transparency. I mean, if you have to be as transparent as people like us with these convictions, that enforces a level of transparency in your life that no one else has to live with. That level of transparency is absolutely important in government. It's important in public service, and if you can prove to the voters and convince voters that they will actually benefit from that level of transparency, then I think it helps.